It's not even close to being explosive. I literally mean it when I say that Tulsa King just produced its most intense episode to date. My heart was racing the entire time because of the bombs, betrayals, and potentially disastrous death toll. Nothing is over. The 8th episode of Tulsa King Season 3 sets up a sort of reckoning that leaves you wondering who will survive and who will be marked for next week. The distillery has reopened, but it is now eerie. Joanne senses the black energy even if there isn't a ghost hovering amid the barrels. Even more unsettling is the fact that Cole, who has not yet been murdered by dear old dad, is picking him up from jail. There's tension thick enough to cut with a Bowie knife, but no love is lost. Who can blame Cole for wanting to go somewhere else? Cole now knows what it means to take care of someone without a gun aimed at his head because of Spencer. His reunion with his elderly father is therefore entirely business-related, not the kind you raise a glass to over whiskey. In the meantime, our favorite insane killer, the watchmaker, had made the decision to simultaneously act as judge, mediator, and executioner. He arrived at Dunmire's house, admitted that he had been ordered there to kill him, and inexplicably ended up having a courteous conversation about Dwight instead. Cold-blooded murderers only engage in casual conversation before organizing a mutual takedown in Tulsa King. Dwight's head was the only thing on the watchmaker's mind, and Dunmire was more than willing to let someone else handle the dirty work. Then there's Margaret, who is always in charge, planning a political dinner that resembles a scene from Succession rather than a criminal story. Dwight is taking action to maintain his authority as she prepares Cal Thresher to be the next governor, or puppet, depending on your point of view. Dwight's miss me? And Margaret's a little during their brief phone conversation were so endearing that you briefly forgot the watchmaker was actually crossing the street with a luggage full of gloom. Because the dude planted a bomb, of course. It is the bomb that Dwight intended to purchase in order to assist Musso in capturing his white whale. While he waltzed out as if he had just restored the plumbing, the silver case was tucked neatly inside the hotel kitchen. The entire program was literally ticking away at that point. Dwight was too preoccupied with managing Bigfoot, Mitch, and Musso of the FBI to see the impending storm. Dwight want blood, but Musso desired a clean sting when Dwight eventually confronted Musso and accused him of using Bill Bevilacqua as a pawn. It was classic Dwight, angry, righteous, and fed up with the bureaucracy. He is not incorrect. Musso hides behind due process, yet his brokenness is evident in his face. In a system that has forgotten what justice is, he is a haunted man seeking it. Finally, we see why he is pursuing the watchmaker. Musso's spouse and the several women and children whose pictures he hung in front of Dwight were all murdered by the watchmaker. However, Musso shouldn't have picked Dwight to handle his dirty labor if he wanted a man who would abide by the laws. Dwight is not a villain. Yes, he is beneficial, but he genuinely cares. The watchmaker was doomed after seeing those pictures. However, Musso most likely was aware of that. Dwight plays by his own rules rather than those of others. With Mitch and Bigfoot at his side, he turned the tables, tricked the watchmaker into falling into a trap, and carried him to a mausoleum right out of a mobster's fever dream. Rain slickers, and I Know What You Did Last Summer like hook, and a bleeding terrorist spewing names were all present. It was graphic, powerful, and entirely in line with Tulsa King's style. In the meantime, Tyson was demonstrating once more how desire and foolishness go hand in hand. He was making side agreements with Bodie, enlisting Spencer in his most recent plot, and carelessly ignoring the fact that Dwight is not fond of betrayal. He always finds success with that, but I became a little irritated when he said Bodie Dwight couldn't tell if the man also wanted him to make money. This episode went well, but I'm not holding out hope that the finale will go smoothly. Tyson didn't understand they were all targets until Spencer found out from Cole that Dunmire was preparing an assault on people close to Manfredi. The last act was exhilarating. Dwight managed to piece it together in time to call Musso, who rushes to the hotel and yells for everyone to leave. Margaret made sure that no one at the table was distracted by their phones, so calls were pointless. As a result, nobody had their phones because they had to check them at the door, and Margaret was interacting with donors right up until the last minute while Cal was getting attention. It was a traditional arrangement. The ensuing hysteria was a moving mess. When Dwight barged in and saw Margaret, the expression on his face, relief, fear, love, said it all. After making sure everyone was okay, Mitch, in full hero mode, was the last to depart. After the smoke cleared, Dwight returned to his steely composure. Margaret was shaken but alive, and Mitch declined medical help. Musso was shocked to learn that Dwight had literally buried the truth 6 feet under while saving hundreds of lives. When asked where the watchmaker went, Dwight responds, "Out of sight, out of mind." Instead of being securely buried in Lawrence Montague's crypt, the watchmaker will probably wish he were dead. However, Cole and Dunmire own the poignant conclusion. Reconciliation was not what they discussed around the fireside. Dunmire and his surviving son will never make amends. It was more of a cautionary tale. Dunmire believed he was saved by divine intervention and was intoxicated by his own virtue. Tyson returned to Dwight by the conclusion, and they are standing by him like the calm following a storm. Don't let that calm deceive you, though. Dunmire is far from done, and Musso's tomorrow poses a threat.